What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris, man. Uh, Rocking with me on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. We got a special guest in the building, Katie Barnes, which is a digital features writer for ESPN. She's wrote features from Maya Moore, Overturn the Convictions, and Jonathan Irons, Paige Bruckers, and Jalen Suggs, detailing their friendship all the way back to when they grew up in Minneapolis, writing about the 25th anniversary of the WNBA as well. We're going to talk to her about some of those stories. She's a graduate from St. Olave's College, also has her master's from Miami of Ohio University, and neither one of those is in communication. So definitely going to talk to her about her background and get to know her a little bit, no doubt, and ask her some fun questions. So without any further ado, I bring to you Katie Bone. Katie, how you doing? It's a pleasure to see you. It's a pleasure to see you again. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah,
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Thank you for hopping on. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Obviously, anything new? Anything new since we last talked? It's been a minute since we last talked.
I don't know, just more work.
I understand. I understand. No question. No question. Well, without any further ado, let me get started.
All right.
Uh, First question I wanted to ask you is can you talk about how you got into this industry? Because you don't come from a communication as far as communication background as far as your degrees. You know, you graduated from St. Olaf, believe with a history major, Russian studies, and then also when you got your master's from Miami, Ohio University, you graduated in student affairs. Can you talk about how you got into this industry and be able to do the feature writing that you do now?
Yeah, mostly by accident. um, as you astutely, as you astutely noted, my degrees would not necessarily be considered traditional for those who ended up in journalism. And while I was in college and grad school, I like never did like student paper stuff. I'd never really displayed an aptitude for journalism. And but I did write a lot. I
Right.
always wrote. I wrote a lot of fan fiction, which is always very funny to me. I started that when I was in high school. I just, in general, was always kind of writing. And St. Olaf, sorry, you can hear my cat running around. St. Olaf, which is a liberal arts school, is known among its students for being very hard from a reading and writing perspective. That's kind of like all we do, is we read a lot and we write a lot.
Right.
Um, and so I developed skills that would be helpful to me. But when I was in graduate school, I started writing a weekly pop culture and sports column at feministing.com.
Okay.
Um, and that was really my first foray into writing publicly, I suppose. And I did that for about 6 months before I graduated. And then I decided that, the feedback I had gotten from everyone through grad school and throughout most of my academic career was that I was a fine writer. And I was like, all right, well, people need words. I can write words.
Hmm.
So I really thought I was going to end up in like communications at Nike or something like that. Like I had friends at Nike. I wanted to work there.
Right.
Um, so that's what I thought was going to happen. And I applied cold for a job at ESPN um, for a program known as the Digital Media Associate Program. And they took me, and I was offered opportunities to write and told to pitch. So I did.
Mhm.
And the rest is kind of history after that.
Yeah, I can definitely attest. You're definitely an incredible writer.
That's nice of you.
In my mind, no doubt about it. I followed your stuff. I read the Paige Bruckers and the Jalen Suggs story that you wrote. I thought that was pretty cool. The 25th anniversary story you wrote. Obviously, the first ever time we talked, the story that you wrote about Maya Moore and Jonathan Irons, I believe, with his overturned conviction. And you said that took you 10 months to do, I believe, and that story was incredible. So, yes, I can attest. Your stories are very good, that's for sure.
Thank you.
You talked about it a little bit, you know, when you graduated with your master's, that shortly after you got with ESPN. Now you said you cold apply for ESPN. Did you ever think that ESPN would give you a call back and say, "Hey, Katie, we would love to have you," or was it just one of those things that you just applied on a flim and was like, "Okay, whatever happens, happens."
I had no idea that they would call me back. And what's dumb about it is I actually knew people at ESPN
Yeah.
and I just didn't use them. Like,
Mm.
PSA, do not do what I did. Like, if you know people at the place that you want to work, tell them that you're applying for that job.
Okay.
So many mistakes. But they did call me back and
Yeah.
I got a phone screening. And then I went through like our HR interviewing process and made it to a finalist status. So once I got on campus for interviews, it was kind of a wrap from there. I knew I could do that, but the getting through the process part was really hard.
I understand. Use your resources. It's important to use your resources at all
Yes,
times, right? Totally. Great advice.
absolutely.
Great advice. I'm gonna ask you some favorite things right now. So you just tell me
Okay.
off the top of the dome, what's some of your favorite things, okay? Um,
All
favorite
right.
favorite food.
Favorite food?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, probably chicken. I eat chicken every day in any number of ways. I never get tired of it. So I would say that's probably my favorite.
You and me both. Baked, fried, grilled, don't matter. Put some barbecue sauce on that
Does
thing
not
and we
matter.
can
Yes. I was like, I
Yeah,
love chicken. I can't do it.
absolutely. I got you.
Yeah.
Favorite music.
Hmm. Like my favorite genre or like my favorite artist?
Both. Give it to me. Both of
I really like singer songwriting, like kind of like basic white girl music, if we're gonna be honest.
them.
I'm a
Okay.
big fan. And Sarah Bareilles is my favorite artist, without question. I
Got
love her so much. It's kind of embarrassing.
I'm gonna have to YouTube that one because I don't know if I know that artist.
She's great. She just has a
Okay,
song for every mood that I need. I don't know. She's gotten me through so many like life milestones. I just love her.
you might have to DM me that name and then I'll look it
You're like, what
up.
is this?
Right, right. I might have that reaction. You're right,
I
but
know.
hey, I
I,
can't knock it until I try it. So
I mean, I'm telling you, it is basic white girl music. You're gonna listen to it and you're gonna go, oh my.
I'm looking forward to that reaction. I totally am. Favorite movie, and you can also give me the genre of movie that you like.
Oh, this is tough.
Mm,
I love movies.
so do
I
I.
also am known for watching movies over and over and over again.
Oh, you're one of those. Okay.
Oh yeah, for one,
Okay.
like for context, I did put in writing that I have seen Bring It On about 300 times.
Wow.
I think I might have even lowballed it. I've seen it so many times. It's a bit of a problem.
Oh man, bring it on. Okay.
I love Bring It On. I love it so much. I love comedies in general, and I
Okay.
also really like documentaries. Um, so I would say my favorite movie right now, which
Hmm.
I define as the movie that if you ask me what I want to watch, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say this movie, even if I already watched it yesterday. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Oh yeah.
That's going to be Long Shot with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. I
Wow.
love that movie. I
That's a
think
classic.
it's like the best romantic comedy ever made and highly underrated. It's fantastic. Definitely my favorite movie right now.
Agreed that it's underrated. Definitely agree with that. It's a very good movie. That's a classic. Fun fact, I'll say this to you. Bring It On was actually filmed at my alma mater high school.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
yeah, in San Diego, California, which is Kearney High School. That's where I graduated from. So yeah, that's a fun fact about Bring It On. I think I've seen it about 295 times less than you have. Uh, but it's still a good movie, no doubt. That's awesome. Favorite place you ever traveled to?
I think out of the country, Marseille, France.
Cool. Mm.
In the country, I would say, oh man, that's tough. I've been to 45 states.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say, mm, I'm gonna say Fayetteville, Arkansas. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Fayetteville, Arkansas. Wow. Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that
Yeah.
one.
I
Okay.
know. I like to pick the unexpected.
You have you now
Yeah.
you totally shocked the hell out of me so far. We're not even 5 minutes
Well,
in.
I had like a really good experience there. So I sort of associate experiences with like whatever travel I've done.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about that area, so Fayetteville's like really close to Bentonville, which is where Walmart is. But there's a fantastic American art museum right outside of Bentonville and Fayetteville. And it is so good. It has some of the most famous American landscapes. And I really loved going there. And I thought it was really cool that it was in Arkansas, not New York. So I think that's why. I was very surprised by it. But I also like had a really great time in Huntsville, Alabama. Um, I really like Bozeman, Montana. It's really pretty.
Mm.
Um, the drive from Walla Walla, Washington to Portland, Oregon was one of my favorites that I'd ever done.
Wow.
Um, and like I had a blast driving across South Dakota in one day. That was wild.
I bet it was. I bet. Let me ask you,
It
you
really was.
said 45 states that you visited. What are the states
Mm-hmm.
that you haven't been to?
North Dakota,
Okay.
which is stupid because I went to college in Minnesota. You'd think I
Mm.
would have crossed that one off.
Yeah.
So North Dakota, Arizona, New Mexico, Alaska, Hawaii.
I can definitely tell you you'll love Arizona. But
Yeah,
you gotta withstand the heat. You can if you
I know. I'm
withstand.
gonna not go during the summer. My great aunt lives in Arizona, so I
Yeah.
have a reason to go.
Mm.
But at this point, like I'm not organically getting states anymore. It's like I have to plan trips.
Right. Right.
So
Absolutely.
eventually it'll happen.
Cool. I can tell you Arizona's beautiful. Been there. Love Phoenix. Love Tucson. You'll love Arizona wherever you go there for sure. But yes, I recommend not going in summertime. It's 115 out there right now as they play the
Mm-mm.
NBA finals. I'm good with that. Minus
Yeah, no
about
thanks.
minus about 40 of them degrees, and we
Yeah,
good.
no.
So we good.
I'm a winter baby, so heat and I are not friends.
Right. Absolutely. I totally get that. Totally understand. I'm gonna ask you two more favorite things.
All right.
Favorite restaurant.
Oh man. Favorite restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So, like my favorite like go-to spot, like if I don't want to cook and I just want my favorite chicken sandwich, then like just locally where I live is Wooden Tap. I love it. It's like a local chain. I really enjoy it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, they've got these Parmesan tater tots that just like they're fantastic. Um,
That's
and
awesome.
then like after that, it's like I said, it's like experiences because I go different places. So it's like,
Right.
you know, my favorite restaurant on the road, my favorite, like whenever I go home, I
Hmm.
love to go to this local restaurant in my hometown that just has like the best French fries. And, you know, I get like, I mean, I get something dumb. It's like a grilled cheese on hoagie bread, but that's what I got when I was a kid. So
Wow.
like,
Okay.
I pursue, yeah, it's like I pursue, like little things. And so like, you know, I love to go to Hogan Brothers, which is a sandwich shop in my college town. So it's like I'll go to different places that I've been and I'll find like these spots and I'll return to them. There's a theme here. I listen to the same things over and over again. I eat the same things over and over again. And I have like a spot in every town that I go
Right.
to regularly.
Right.
So yeah.
No, that's awesome. I would say chain restaurants as far as those Longhorns for me. Uh,
Mm.
Nothing like a good steak. Steak, chicken, anything meaty. I'm really with it. Um, and then as far as like a local thing, I'm a huge breakfast person. So
Mm.
buttermilk biscuit. When I went there, I was like, wow, this I've never seen biscuits in a basket before. That was just like just over. That was
Ooh.
mind blown. It really
Yes.
was. It was so amazing. The jam was homemade. Everything. It was so good. So
Oh, I feel that. Yeah, there's a spot in Boston that I love. It's Sweet Cheeks Q. It's a barbecue spot by Tiffany Faison, who's one of my favorite Top Chef contestants. I'm a big Top Chef fan. And I love that place. Oh my God. Like they do not put seasoning on the table and you don't need it. It's
Oh,
just so fantastic. Her biscuits are crazy. Every time I go, we're my wife and I are like, oh, we should get a bucket. Like one isn't going to be enough. And
right.
then every time we get the bucket, we go, these biscuits are huge. Why did we do this? It's an absolute disaster. But yeah, it's delicious. And she has like this honey butter, and it's just like
Oh my gosh.
it's fantastic. Her
So
fried chicken is crazy.
so now that
Um,
when I go to Boston, I gotta go to Sweet Cheeks.
yes, you do.
Okay, okay. I've
Yeah.
never been to Boston. Never have.
Oh, Boston's. I like Boston.
Hmm.
But yeah, but true chains, Applebee's all day. I love Applebee's.
The appetizers, you cannot go wrong with their appetizers at
I
home.
know.
They're on fire for real. I love it. Last favorite one, and this one is favorite alcoholic drink.
Mm, bourbon, no question.
Okay, I like that. I like that. I'm a bourbon guy. I'm also a Hennessy guy. I love my
Okay.
Hennessy.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, without question. Don't matter if it's straight on the rocks or whether you mix it with Coke. I don't care which one. But just give it to me. That's what I'm with. So that's awesome.
I love
So
that.
let me ask you this: being in the professional field, how do you balance your work life, social life, and maintain your mental health? You know, you do these feature stories
Mm,
that take a long time to develop. A lot of sources that you got to talk to. A lot of times you have to spend, whether it's in person or talking on the phone or doing Zooms like this. You know that really that really constrict your time. You know, so how do you balance your work life, social life, and maintain your mental health as well?
yeah. I mean, actually, for the last year and a half, it's been pretty easy because I haven't been on the road.
Right.
Um, as I return to travel, I think it'll get harder again. But what I found success with was just drawing clear boundaries for myself. So if I was at home, I tried really hard just to be at home and limit the work that I do when like 2 business hours as much as possible because my wife is a teacher. And so when she comes home, I like to actually spend time with her. Um, and it similarly, like if I need to go on the road, I try really hard to not book travel over a weekend unless I absolutely have to.
Right.
And I try really hard not to work on weekends unless I absolutely have to.
Right.
Sometimes you just can't help, like you just can't help things, like you just have to do an interview and that's when you can get it. I try and if I am going to work in the evenings or if I am going to work on a weekend, I try to make sure that it's like just a single interview, if that makes sense. So
Yep.
like, and especially if I've been trying to get someone and I haven't been able to get them, they finally get back to me and they say, I can talk to you at 7 o'clock. I'm going to say yes. So like, I think
Understood.
like a big part of that is just, yeah, it's like you just got to do what you got to do. And so I try and be as flexible as possible. But a lot of time, what I have found to be really successful is I sort of have timing during the day that I do certain things. So most people aren't going to wake up in the morning and want to do an interview at 7 a.m. I typically write in the mornings, and I typically like to be done writing for the day, or at least take a sizable break around like 11 or 12.
Right.
And so then by that time, my editor's online, and then like, there's meetings. And so I can sort of do all of that stuff. I can do all the administrative stuff and I can do the reporting that I need to do during the day. And then I usually hang it up in the late afternoon. And then I do like my household chores and stuff like that. So I tend to just like kind of have times for when I'm going to do things and stick to that. And that allows me to keep a balance while also then communicating to my wife if I'm on deadline and I'm writing all day that like, no, I'm not doing dishes. No, I cannot cook. Like that's not available. I have to get this done. I'm a
Right.
mess.
Right.
And we as a couple have sort of adjusted to that. And that stuff allows me to keep my mental health strong because I'm not having anxiety about not getting stuff done. Or if like, I've mentioned the dishes, I do the dishes. That's like my job. And so if I know that the kitchen's a wreck, I typically write near the kitchen. And so if I'm not able to write in a, like, just in general,
Yeah.
and I feel like I have all these household tasks I need to get done, I'll just go cross a bunch of stuff off the list, and then I'll find that I write better. And so a lot of it for me is maintaining an environment, both physical and mental, that allows me to be creative when I need to be creative. And so if I'm struggling and I just need to have a guilt-free day off, I will take it. If I need to play video games for an hour that day, I will do that too. If I need to have an all-day FIFA day, that's going to be what has to happen.
Okay.
Just because if I don't do those things, then I can't be creative and I can't do my job, and then it gets worse.
Yeah.
And so I, try really hard to just find what those release valves are, and trigger them if I need them, so that way I continue to be creative when I need to be.
That's I mean, that's an excellent answer. It really is. And I say that because the way that you broke it down, it's so important to have mental health in days where you can relax, but also find your rhythm to where you can try to have that balance of work life and social life. And the way you broke it down, you broke it down like it's easy, but it's really not easy. It's not easy to have that and to maintain that. Like you said, going back on the road is going to be a little difficult as we start to get back to some normalcy coming out of the pandemic. But it's great to have someone who's understanding as a partner, as you talked about your wife, who knows your schedule, you know her schedule, and you guys give and take. It's a lot easier to have somebody that's understanding like that. Before I get to the next question, this bonus question, I want to know, what video games do you play?
Oh my God.
Because I get down too on some video games now, so I gotta know, what games do you play?
I play a lot of FIFA. I don't play Ultimate Team though. So a lot of my gaming, because I started gaming later in life, like as an adult when I could buy my own stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just like I never really got into the first person shooters. Like I'm just not good at them. I hate playing online because everybody else is so good and I'm terrible. And so I just like to play my like single player, like let me live my life. So I'll play like FIFA career mode.
Right.
That'll be what, just like offline by myself. And I do the same thing. Like I love Assassin's Creed, Red Dead 2, GTA. Yeah, a lot of like single player adventure stuff.
Okay.
And like sometimes I'll go online, but again, I'm bad. So it's just not very fun for me.
I understand.
And so I just like to play by myself and like ride my horse around the plains and go hunting if I'm playing Red Dead. So that's what I do.
That's awesome.
And I usually buy 2K, even though I don't end up playing very much. Especially now that they have women in the game, I feel like I need to support, so I do. and like I used to play 2K a lot, but like I don't know. I don't like how now they like make you be online. Like I don't want to be in Rookieville. Just like put me in the city. Like
Right.
Like I'm not gonna go play on the park. I just want to be in the city. Like don't make me play against mean children. I don't like it.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, I can totally understand where you're coming from. Some of these kids get on here and just be whooping up a storm, be cussing up a storm. I'm gonna
Yes.
pass me the ball, all this, that, and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I feel like as an adult, I don't know whether I should just be like, little boy, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, I'm like, I'm a whole adult. Like, I will spend the extra $20 to get enough VC so I'm not 60 overall.
right,
Like that's what I will do for myself. And I don't also want to grind for rep against 12-year-olds. I'm just not interested.
I'm not. Yeah, you hear cartoons in the background and stuff like that. It's like, what's going on with my
I
life?
know.
What am I doing?
And they're just talking so much shit, and I don't have time.
Right. But I say this: FIFA is my game. I definitely can get down on some FIFA. So you have to let me know. You gotta let me know. Now hold on. Do you play? Are you Microsoft or you Sony? Because I'm PS4.
Oh, I play. Oh yeah, I have a PS5. Please get out of here. I don't. Who plays Xbox? I hate people who play Xbox. I say that. One of my best friends in the entire world has an Xbox, and I'm like, I need you to get a PlayStation.
Right.
Like, I need you to do it. I will play you in FIFA. Also, you need to be able to play Spider-Man. Like, this is a hole in our friendship.
That's That's a deal breaker if your ass can't play Spider-Man for
That's what
sure.
I'm saying. I'm like, sir, I need you to understand what I'm talking about.
Right. Wow. Okay. I haven't got the PS5 yet, but apparently it's very select stores that have it around here in the ATL. Not a whole lot of stores, that's for
It's a
sure.
disaster. It took me months to get. I don't regret it because now I have it.
Okay.
But honestly, you don't need to get it so early. Like, this is going to be probably the first game cycle where we actually see games come out for it. A bunch of games that were supposed to come out in the spring have been delayed.
Yeah.
So, like now, like maybe in the next year, like by 2022, you'll probably feel like, oh, I should have one. And hopefully
Yeah.
by then you can get one.
I hope so. I'm hoping. There's no question about that. Now you spoke of your wife, and you recently
Mhm.
just had your anniversary, which is happy belated anniversary, by the way.
Thank you.
Um, can you talk about how important it is to have a partner in your life that understands your job and understands you being in this industry, especially?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important. The thing about my wife is, like I said, she is a teacher and she really values writing. She likes writing herself, so that's really helpful.
Yeah.
She pushes me both in terms of being a better professional, but also in terms of being a better partner
Right.
and like the importance of setting boundaries. Like if I had it my way and I didn't have like other people in my life, like I would just work all the time. Like I wouldn't set boundaries. Like I would just do what I need to do and procrastinate the way that I procrastinate and just
Mm-hmm.
like live my life and not really care.
Right.
And because, she is in my life and I want to actually see her, I need to be better as a pro.
Right.
Um, and so she helps me sort of raise my game. She's also, I think, really helpful in terms of just being willing like to listen to me as I freak out. Like I talk about how I have existential crises like all the time, which I do. Like I'm always thinking about what should I be doing next? Which story should I be chasing? What kinds of experiences do I want to have professionally? Where do I want my career to go?
Right.
And she painstakingly listens to me as I talk about all of that. And then also tells me like when I need to shut up and like actually do something about it, which I think is equally important.
You gotta have that
Um,
balance. You're right.
yeah, and so like that is really really helpful. And I think just as she's someone who understands what it takes to, I don't know, just like what it takes to prepare and stuff. Like she's got to write lesson plans. Like she
Yeah.
understands like the process of my professional work. And therefore is she has an allowance for me to do that work, to a point. And if I'm too absent, she tells me. But in that sense, I like not being alone. There are some people who really enjoy being alone,
Yeah.
and I don't. And so I'm very grateful to have her in my life and as my partner.
Nah, that's once again, congratulations on your anniversary. Uh, just wanted to say that, and I really didn't even think about that aspect that you thought, that you said about being the teacher that she is. That's right. She can help you in the writing sense or understand the writing sense because she does do lesson plans. And those are very tough. Those are very rigorous to write. And also a lot, especially being a teacher over this COVID, she's had to do a lot of adjustments, especially with the online and virtual stuff like yourself. So she can totally relate to the adjustment period of what you had to go through, especially last year. So it's amazing to have a partner like that. Many more years of bliss for sure.
Thanks, Chris.
No problem. This was that. Now I'm going to give you two things. Okay, you got to choose either or. All right.
Okay.
We're going to start off with this: drive-in or movie theaters.
Oh, I love drive-ins, but movie theaters.
Okay. Popeyes or KFC.
Oh, I mean Popeyes.
Well, I'm sorry. I have to maybe ask that question, Mike.
I was like, what question is that?
Okay. Basketball or football?
Basketball.
Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Oh, that's hard. I'm gonna say Christmas.
Okay. I like it. I like it. softball or bowling?
Oh, softball, no question.
No question. Okay. MJ or LeBron?
LeBron. Oh,
Okay, okay. I squeezed it out of you. That's good. Brady or Montana?
oh, Montana.
Okay. Diana Taurasi or Sue Bird?
Why? Why you gotta do this to me?
I'm sorry. The hard hitting questions. That's what we do.
Oh, in terms of who is the GOAT, Diana Taurasi.
Okay. Okay. All right. I got two more for you. Two more this
Okay.
or that for you. Fayetteville, Arkansas, or Huntsville, Alabama.
I'm gonna say, oh, that's tough. I'm gonna say Fayetteville, so I can continue to go to that art museum.
Okay. And the last one would be uh, Independence Day
Mm.
or Memorial Day.
Oh, Independence Day.
Okay. You did good. You was very decisive. I
Oh
squeezed
yeah.
some out of you, but you was very decisive. I like that. Now, this next question is probably gonna be the toughest one.
Okay.
Okay. And the reason why is you gotta choose, it's like choosing one of your kids. Which story that
Oh,
you have done has had the most impact on you or has been your favorite to write? And why?
I think the story that has had the most impact on me,
Mm-hmm.
which was not my favorite to write, um, was the most recent story I did on Leisha Clarendon, the cover story for ESPN.
Yeah, she was great. Yep.
Yeah, I think because it was so personal in many respects. Leisha and I share a lot of identities, and that is not something that I come across in my writing all the time. I might profile an athlete who is Black. I might profile an athlete who's queer, maybe queer and Black, but like to be like biracial and queer and non-binary um, is very specific.
Right.
And there just aren't that many people that I've even personally met who sit at that intersection the way that I do. And so for me, I think that one was the most impactful for me personally. And I hope it was impactful, generally speaking. Yeah.
That's a great story. Okay, so you say that's the most impactful. Which has been your favorite one to write and why?
My favorite to write.
Mm-hmm.
I generally think that writing is very hard.
It is. I can attest to that.
It's really hard. I don't really ever enjoy it in the moment necessarily. But I think I would say that my favorite to write would have been my very first piece that published in ESPN the magazine. That was a story about Mac Beggs and Andrea Yearwood, both transgender athletes who were in high school at the time.
Right.
In some ways, because it was my first big feature, I like relished the writing process. I still do. Like, I still find, I mean, writing is very rewarding in many, many respects.
Right.
But I was less hard on myself then, I think, because I was greener. So I just had sort of had like big eyes, like, yeah, I want everything. And so in that sense, I think I found it to be really enjoyable, even if I thought it was deeply, deeply challenging.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'll always love that story, I think, in ways that I just won't love others. Because it was, my first magazine story, because it was something that I felt like I had been hired like specifically to write, like it was an area of expertise that, is uniquely mine. but then also like everything that I've gotten after that story that relates to it
Yeah.
is pretty substantial. So it's sort of the story that keeps on giving in many respects.
Right.
Um, and that's probably why I love it so much.
Yeah, like I said, the Paige Rucker story is one of my favorites. Obviously, the Maya Moore story is probably the number one story that I love the most. I can read that over and over again because that's just the way it was put, the way it was written. That's a hell of a story to write, and it's also a great happy ending to it too. But also like the one that you wrote that was a little different. The guy that the pitcher that struck out 21 batters in the game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we wrote that one. I like that one too. But the Paige Rucker and Jalen Suggs is like the most recent story that I like. 'Cause I like the fact when they were playing one on one, and she thought she had him beat, but for a minute I was like, oh man, I thought she was gonna be able
I
to do this.
know.
So
I know. And she was very quick to be like, I still think about that before bed. I was like, all right, Paige, relax.
right.
It was
I
very funny.
understand. I understand. That's awesome. What are some of the challenges that you face being in this industry as a digital features writer for ESPN? And what are some of the challenges you think up and coming people will face uh, about joining this industry?
Well, as far as up and comers, I mean, the industry right now is just deeply, deeply challenged. It's more competitive than it ever has been. There are not a ton of jobs. And I think also my experience talking to young people is sometimes, young folks fixate on that one job they really want
Yeah.
and the place that they want to be, and sometimes lose sight of needing to take a couple of steps in order to get there, if that makes sense, or how like that like place they want to be may not be the best place for them right in that moment. um, and so I think that's just a challenge in general, as a young person trying to break into an industry that has seen better days, that is extremely competitive. You have to want it more than everybody else. Um, and also like be in a position possibly to sacrifice, and not everybody is. And I think that's really hard. Like not everyone can go to the middle of nowhere and make no money as their first job. Like that, just like that's not
Right.
available to everyone.
Right.
Even more so than that, not everybody can go to New York and make like no money. That's probably even less available to a lot of folks.
You ain't lying about
Um,
that. You're right.
like it's just that's a reality within media right now. Um, and so I think that's a huge, huge challenge, possibly the biggest challenge for young people. Um, for me personally, I think that one of the biggest things about being a writer at ESPN and starting at ESPN is that it is a very, very big company. Um, and it can be hard to be seen within the company. And so you have to like really fight for your place. And also, of course, be willing to receive feedback and develop and grow, and pitch stories. Like, I've been talking a lot in the last couple of weeks about like going on offense, like meaning like creating the community that I want in my company, chasing
Right.
after the stories that I want, taking the time to think about and find new stories that are interesting to me instead of just sort of waiting for opportunities to come my way, really being aggressive and going after what it is that I want for my career. And ESPN is a really great place because I can do anything that I want there. And also, it can be really hard because you can do anything you want, but you also have to put yourself in a position to succeed. And at a really
Absolutely.
big place like ESPN, that can be harder in some respects. Um,
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
profile. And so I have been able to sort of be in my corner of the sports world, cultivating sources and writing deeper and bigger features, um, whereas like I wouldn't be able to write the equivalent of the Maya Moore story in men's basketball, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like we have so many other writers who are more experienced, who are better sourced in those areas than I am, who would get those opportunities. And so as I develop as a writer and a reporter, for me, it's about thinking about, I have my corner. It's about expanding those areas of expertise and expanding that versatility to go wherever it is that I want to go. But it
Right.
takes a lot of intention in order to do that. It's not something that just kind of happens. And if you just sort of sit back and let it happen, you're likely to get lost at such a big place.
Yeah, ESPN is huge, and there's a lot of communicative roles out here, And I love the point you made about people getting fixated on one role. People love to be in front of the camera, or people just want to do writing, and I think it's great to be a jack of all trades. Uh, I love doing multiple things. Yes, writing is probably the best thing that I love to do because I love talking to people and I love formulating stories. I love going to the games and stuff like that. But if you know the production side, if you know the editing side, you know different kind of communicative roles, you can be much more of an asset to a company, to yourself. So I love that aspect that you talked about, and that's amazing. Um, Piggyback off that question, and this will be the final one that I have, is just advice. What advice would you give to any person that wants to be in the sports media industry field, or some advice that someone has given you that you hold on dearly to?
Mm. Yeah, my mentor told me when I first started out, he said to me, write fearlessly. And I think about that a lot um, in terms of just not being afraid of the moment, afraid of the story, afraid of the possibility of failure, just to go out and do what I know how to do and be fearless in that pursuit. Um, yeah, I think about that a lot. I think my own advice, which is a riff off of that, I suppose, is to be relentless. Um, there are a lot of folks who want to be in this industry,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of folks. I mean, it's just like it's so competitive, and to me, and I say this, understanding the systemic barriers that are in place. I'm familiar with them. But I do think that on an individual level, like you can be absolutely relentless. You can go after what it is that you want. And so if you know that you want to be someplace, network your way there. If like build those relationships, take that time, amass clips, whatever it is that you want to do. And you just relentlessly pursue what's going to help you get there. Because, people, you know, yes, the industry is competitive, but you never want to be outworked, I think is my point. Like that to me, I think is something that I think about a lot. Like, I don't ever want to not get something because I didn't put in the time to do
Right.
it. Like, it's
Absolutely.
one thing if I'm not chosen, that's a completely different conversation. But if I am not chosen for something because I just didn't pitch, like that's inexcusable. And I have no one to blame but myself for that.
Right.
And so I never want to be in that position. And that's something that I do share with young folks where it's just like, people get passed over for different reasons all the time. People like, somebody else may get chosen for a job for any number of reasons, some of which are totally valid, others that may be complete and total bullshit. But like, there's a difference between just getting like beat out for something and not even being in consideration because you didn't take the time or put forth the effort to put yourself in the best position to succeed. And so that's something that like you can absolutely control. And so when I think about like being relentless, like that's it. Doesn't mean like be annoying, like don't be obnoxious. If somebody doesn't answer your DM, eventually like give up. But like, you know, just but like, put in the time, formulate a really good pitch,
Yeah.
build relationships, like relentlessly pursue what you want. And so that way, at least nobody can say that you didn't want it more, that like you didn't want it enough, or that you didn't put in the time. And of course, I say that again, understanding that sometimes it doesn't matter how bad you want something doesn't matter how much time you put in. Like sometimes the systemic barriers do win, but not all the time. And I think sometimes we can surprise ourselves
Right.
with our own ability to succeed if we really do put forth that effort.
No, I love that. Right fearlessly, be relentless. You definitely have to be that. No question about it. And that's great advice for anybody that's coming up. It's great advice for me. It's great advice for anybody that takes the time out to listen to this podcast. To know that continue chasing your goals. Just because you get one no doesn't mean you're going to get every no. All you need is one yes. And get one yes will provide you an opportunity to showcase or exhibit the reason why that they chose you, to solidify it. So I love that advice for sure. I got to thank you, Katie Barnes, for coming on to the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast of mine. It is always, always lovely talking to you. We definitely gonna get on them sticks eventually for feet.
Oh, that's gonna happen. I gotta put in a little bit more work though. Hang on. Like, let me
Me
catch
too.
up.
Me too. I do. I ain't gonna lie. I want to get beat like the U.S. did Thailand the other day, 13-0. I don't want you doing that.
Mm-mm.
I want you doing that too. But I always conclude my podcast like this. Is there anything else you would like to add before we conclude?
No, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no
Continue
doubt.
doing what you're doing. You're killing it.
I appreciate that. I really do. And we will be in touch. You enjoy the rest of this beautiful Thursday afternoon. And we'll talk soon, Kate. Take care.
For sure. Thanks.